I'm sure most of you heard about this little 2010 film called Despicable Me. It was really popular when it was released in July that year. I loved the film. Most notably, everyone recognizes the cute yellow creatures named Minions, who serve the supervillain turned hero, Felonious Gru. I started working in theaters at around the time it came out, up until March 2020, when the coronavirus hit. But that wasn't why I stopped working for them. In February of that year, I experienced something that dramatically changed my life, and how I've viewed theaters ever since. On this particular day, I was cleaning up one of the theaters at the AMC I worked at, which had just shown The Call of the Wild. I swept the uneaten snacks on the chairs, floor, and little crevices in the walls, sprayed the popcorn and soda-filled air with some fresheners, and cleaned up the soda spills. I was leaving the cinema hall when I noticed what looked to be yellow "Do Not Cross" tape, the tape you would see at a crime scene. It was on the door that led to Cinema Hall 10. I asked my fellow colleagues if they knew anything about it, and they gave me a look of confusion. As my curiosity kept rising more and more, I asked the co-manager of the cinema if he knew anything about it. He responded as if he didn't even know it existed, which was really weird. Stressed, I led my co-manager to the door of Cinema Hall 10 and showed him the tape. He became as pale as a ghost and told me to follow up at his office. I met him there a few minutes later and sat down inside. He proceeded to give me the entire story, at least what he knew of it. Back in 2010, during a showing of the brand new Despicable Me in that cinema hall, a hacker somehow managed to show a disturbing version of the film. Reports say that moviegoers in Cinema Hall 10 were terrified, and one of them was even escorted to the hospital due to an underlying medical condition triggered by the film. My co-manager then opened up his TV and played what looked to be a recording. The co-manager's TV played a recording of what seemed to be a news report. The audience member then appeared on camera and said that he and the rest of the audience were shown the scariest thing he'd ever seen. He went on to say that in the scene where Gru and Margot were falling, when Gru tried to save her from Vector, instead of the minions catching Gru and Margot, the minions failed to save them. Instead, a disgusting splat sound was heard, and a picture showed. Scary music began to play as the camera showed Gru and Margot's dead bodies. The strange part was the bodies looked like Gru and Margot's voice actors, Steve Carell and Miranda Cosgrove, respectively. After showing 10 minutes of Gru and Margot's corpses, the credits rolled, except there was no music. Then the film ended. After it was over, a pair of hands emerged from the bottom of the screen. A minion with blue eyes appeared and screamed so loud that the now frightened audience fled the cinema hall. It was reported that the audience in Cinema Hall 10 told everyone not to watch the film that was shown there, and some even said they must have lost their family members in the ruckus of the escape. My co-manager turned off his TV and concluded the story saying that after the incident, no audience was ever put in Cinema Hall 10 ever since. Several of the families tried suing AMC, but the cases were all settled, with the courts finding in favor of AMC, and the company essentially just issuing a public apology on Twitter and Facebook. The AMC I was working in was forced to close that whole wing of the building due to low attendance, and also to prevent future incidents from happening again. Completely blown away by the story I was told, I left the office and that was it. The next day I decided to go explore Cinema Hall 10 and just see what condition it was in after all these years. While I was cleaning Cinema Hall 2, I made sure no one was around and then went to unlock the door with the key I'd snagged from the manager's office that day. The weird thing though was that there was literally 3 places I needed to unlock the door, because there were several extra bolt locks that had been attached to it. When I first opened the door, there was so much dust in the air that I started coughing up a storm. Taking out my flashlight, I turned it on and noticed the entire room was completely empty, although I could see leftover popcorn and soda stains all over the floor, as if no one had ever even gone in to clean the place after the incident. There were even empty candy bags and what looked to be a half-eaten pizza in one of the chairs. I walked a little further and noticed something about one of the soda cups that almost made me vomit. The cup was filled with soda, but on top of it was some disgusting mold, and I swear I saw a plant growing on it. Then there was a popcorn that looked like it had been chewed and spit back up onto the floor. I decided to go check it out because at that point, I figured there was going to be very little that could surprise me. As I got to the very top of the theater, I witnessed something truly disturbing. It was the deceased body of an employee, one which was unrecognizable. And when I shined my flashlight onto them, I saw that his stomach looked like something had bursted out from it. But believe it or not, that wasn't the most horrifying part of the experience. What I saw after that changed my life forever, and I'm not sure I will ever be able to go to a theater again. There was this little dome-shaped creature standing at the edge of the row. It was about 2 feet tall. Its eyes were completely white, like no pupil at all. And it just kind of stared at me while it chuckled in this high-pitched tone that shook me to my core. If anyone has any information on these minion-looking creatures, please let me know in the comments. It's killing me not knowing what happened, or even if that weird little thing is still out there. In fact, every now and then when I look out my window onto the street at night, I feel like I see it run by in the distance. So please help me if you can. I don't know how much longer I can take this.